Yo, what's up? My name's Petrowski, and welcome to a certified YAP session, where today I will be doing something that no Commander player, or honestly any Magic player, likes to do or likes to see happen, is not be able to get their deck box open. That's what it is. I'm going to be taking apart a deck, and it's a really sad one because it's a really unique deck and a really cool Commander. This is Meraxes of Keld, and he is a 6-mana, 4 and 2 red, star summon legend, all the way from Weatherlight, way back in like the 90s. And he says his power and toughness is equal to the total number of untapped artifacts, creatures, and lands you control. I really like commander damage. I really like commander damage decks. I like Voltron. But unfortunately, I just could never get this to work. And I'm still going to try it one day in the future. I think that's why it's so hard to take this apart and unsleeve this and yada, yada, yada. Is because I do think there is potential here. I actually do think that this commander... someone could fix this. It's just not me. And I would love to see, and maybe not me right now. One day I will come back and I will attempt to tackle the Meraxes of Keld problem. And if you have a Meraxes of Keld deck that you think is really, really cool, let me know in the comments. Or like any additions. This deck, the problem is, I made this deck with mostly cards that I already had. I didn't like buy a whole lot of cards for this. It was a very like casual thing. And I thought I could make it work. But I just couldn't. And even then, I could buy a bunch of cards and try to make this work, but I think I realized with my current thought process, I just can't because I spread it way too thin. That's my biggest problem. You can see here, this is Burning Anger. This is a 5-mana enchantment where you can tap the creature and deal damage equal to its power to like another creature or player, I believe. So the idea is make Meraxes very big by playing a bunch of cheap artifacts or, you know, cheap. That was the biggest problem. We'll get into that when we see more cards, but like something my problem with Meraxes is how do you gain his power and toughness? You could do things like goblins and just play him as a goblin commander and have this big, strong... I love his art. His art is so fucking sick. Have this big, strong guy leading the goblin pack, right? But then the problem is, why would you play Meraxes? If the problem is, why would you not play Krenko, right? And if the answer is just, oh yeah, just for like flair, sure, look at all these mountains. Why am I only seeing mountains so far? If the answer to that is like just personality, sure, I'm okay with that. There's a shrapnel blast and you start to see the problem. The problem was that I spread this deck way too thin, and I tried to do goblin synergies and goblin strategies on top of artifacts, on top of like Lifeline is in here. Like I spread this deck way too thin. And I failed because I could not hone down on a strategy. I tried to include too many pet cards. I tried to do too many goofy things. And when you play an already weak commander, like an Ornithopter, oh, you can Shrapnel Blast it or do cute things or whatever. And then also, you know, it raises his power. You know, you can do some cool stuff, but it's just not enough. I might sneeze here in a quick second. We don't edit here, so excuse me. Hopefully you dodged. Excuse me. So sorry. There's some cool ideas here. There's some cool cards. Karavic's Torch, beautiful card, you know. But like this is just a very, number one, it's a very weak deck, as you can probably tell. This deck is very, very low power. And the problem is I built a low power deck with a low power commander. I like playing jank. Historically, I don't play a whole lot of Magic these days in general, but historically I've played Legacy, you know, Vintage. I really like high power formats, and I like competitive Magic. When I play Commander, I'm not looking to play competitive Magic most of the time. I'm looking to goof around, have fun, have an excuse to play some of my bulk cards, some of my lower power cards. I'm a Hedron Archive fan, for reference. Like, and I can't play that in another format besides, you know, Commander. And even then, it's like Commander players don't love it, don't kind of debate against it. Metalwork Colossus. I try to do this like artifact theme on top of some weird burn. I love Pyroblast, you know, gotta include that. Goblin Matron, Jeering. Like, there's no synergies here. This is just a goblin I had laying around in my... I love Jeering Instigator. If you don't know, it's an underrated card. It's an active treason effect on a morph card. It's kind of on a creature. It's actually like a really cool card. It's slow. You gotta have some synergies. You gotta be doing something. You gotta be like stealing the creature and then sacrificing it type thing. And I built this deck too casually. I could never fix it. I could never solve it. We see a beautiful Fling here, one of my favorite cards. You could Fling Meraxes at somebody, but it doesn't do commander damage is the problem, because I believe Fling says that the Fling deals the damage, not the creature. So Fling does not deal like infect damage, for example. It does not deal, you know, Goblin Pile Driver, you know. Some beautiful cards that I do love. There's a lot of whatever cards in here that aren't anything special. Patchwork Banner, it's an artifact. You know, my thoughts, it's an artifact, and it works towards both the artifact and the tribal goal. I love Goblin Dark Dwellers. I adore this card. It's hard to find a reason to play it, especially these days where five mana is so much, you know, more expensive than it used to be. Arcane Signet, Darksteel Citadel. There's some cool cards in here. I like the Japanese lands or China. I think this is Chinese, excuse me. But I'm sorry. You know what, Miraxis? I'm sorry because I failed you. I didn't build him seriously. I didn't build him. I did it with the cards that I had, and I just could never get this deck to work ever. And I'd love to tackle this in the future and just hone that idea a bit more. And there's a question of, I probably don't go goblins. I love this card as well, Thermopod. Such a phenomenal, unique card, a red creature that can sacrifice any creature to add red mana, not just goblins. There's some good ideas here, but there was just too many of them. And there was not enough of a clear goal. I made it too versatile, where this should just be like a combo deck to some degree. You can't take an already weak commander and then build a weak deck around it. It's just too much weakness. For, you know, and I don't mind playing weak. I have some really terrible decks that I build for fun, right? But you gotta be able to win. There's one deck that I have that will like never win a game, most likely. It's my reserved list only commander deck, and I don't mind that because, you know, that's something you just kind of acknowledge. But this deck was just terrible. It was just terrible. We see the Thopter Engineer, which can, you know, summons an artifact, does certain things, gives haste. Dragon Fodder can like buff him a little, you know. 2 mana, when you think about it, on paper it sounds so good. 2 mana to make 2 little guys, 2 1/1s, as well as buff his power +2/+2, you know, permanently if they're untapped. Like, there's a lot of cool stuff here, Sad Robot or whatever. There's a lot of cool stuff here in theory. Fnatic Emojis. It just doesn't go together. I'm playing a bunch of artifacts, yet I'm also playing Fnatic Emojis. That doesn't really, like, to get max value out of Fnatic, you really have to be like deep into the red pips. You know, I am mono red. I thought that would be enough, but it just wasn't. I combined too many ideas, too many cooks in the kitchen, and it's what was unfortunately the downfall of this deck. I'd love to hear there's like a total of, I think, like 1,000 Miraxis, maybe less than that. There's either 1,000 or less Miraxis decks on EDHREC. If you happen to be watching, if you happen to be a Miraxis player, please let me know. I love to hear how other people build it. I love to hear other ideas. I think he's a really, really cool fella. I think it's a really cool card. Like this card in theory, there's a lot of like goblin artifact crossover. This card's really cool in theory. It's a goblin that summons an artifact token that you can use to deal 2 damage to a creature. You know, or it could kill itself, which is kind of hilarious. But like, it's fun. It's decently effective. It accomplishes both the goblin and the artifact goal, yet it accomplished no goal all at the same time. It just sadly didn't work, you know? It's one of those things. It's one of those things. We got to so and it's one of those things like I could have kept working at it. I could have kept re-engineering, but I think this deck is so fundamentally flawed that it's actually better to just start from scratch. It's better to take the whole thing apart. And I'm actually down to, once again, I'm not giving up on Miraxis. I think Miraxis could be a really cool commander. I'm giving up on this version of him. And I think it is so deeply flawed that it can't be fixed. It has to be rebuilt from scratch. I have to head back to the deck list, head back to the drawing board, and figure out, do I want to be mono red pips? Do I want to be red devotion? Do I want to be goblins? Do I want to be artifacts? I have to just pick one and lean into it hard, because this was just not working. This beautiful impact trimmers. And when you take apart decks like this, you gain those cards back into your collection. You can then go build actual decks you'll actually play. I realized I never played this deck. It never did something that my other decks didn't, that I wanted it to do. If I wanted to play a themed deck, I'd play my reserve list only deck. If I wanted to play a medium level power deck, you know, I have things like Lord of Chesserhorn. If I want to, or like low power, if I want to play high power, I have Maelstrom Wanderer. Like, this deck just wasn't doing anything that my other decks weren't doing. It's also, I think I also built this deck before. I have another mono red deck now, which I really like, which is actually a Christmas gift from a friend. And I really like that mono red deck. And I think that does some interesting things. It uses the, the Tauren the Tauren guy who buffs warriors and turns, I don't remember his name, so my apologies. I'm not super familiar, but I really like him. He turns other creatures into cowards. And I really, really like that, but Meraxes just didn't work. So I have another mono red deck. There's a Mishra's Bauble back in the, you know. Unfortunately, I just could not get Meraxes to work. So thank you for going through this grieving process with me, unsleeving him. Honestly, it helped me recording something like unsleeve it a lot faster. We had some cool tokens, you know, the landmine token in Chinese, or sorry, that's Japanese, excuse me. The Thopter tokens, the Japanese goblin tokens. We had some cool things for this deck, but it just didn't work. It didn't work. I'd love to hit up the drawing board and try this again one day, but right now I have different priorities as an adult in life. Meraxes will one day come back, but that day is not today. Thanks for your work. Thanks for trying Meraxes. I'm sorry I failed you. And let me know if you guys ever, like, what's like the hardest deck you've ever had to take apart? What's like a really tough decision? Like this should be the most obvious, most clear decision to take a deck apart, and it was still so hard for me. It still took me like months to finally be like, you know what, I'm gonna do it, and then I'm gonna do it on camera, and that'll be a good motivation for me to finally, you know, scrap it, try again in the future, and just start from scratch. If you're a Meraxes player, please give me your guidance in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great day. I'll see you later. Peace, Reno.